Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all.
Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books. And today I'm talking about a very special book, Half Human Heroes. This is an anthology of short stories, all fantasy related and all from fellow booktubers, author tubers, and members of our community. As you can see right at the top, this was edited, put together by our very own Jeremy Fee. As soon as I heard about this book and that Jeremy was working on putting this together, I immediately pre-ordered a copy. This is back in, I don't know, sometime earlier in the year. Because since I've been on BookTube, I have seen some of these collections, anthologies come out, but most of them are have either been horror related or just kind of like general fiction related. This is the first one that I've seen that's specifically meant to be for fantasy readers, which is absolutely right up my alley. So there's about 10 short stories in here from various authors. Now, as you know, I am a little biased when it comes to fantasy. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I'm happy that it exists, and I'm happy that it's part of my collection. And I'm just gonna say this now up front, like, I really hope that there will be more of these types of collections in the future. As much as I love my horror friends and the horror stories, like, my heart is with fantasy. That's where my heart is. So I would love to see more of this type of work. Now, like most short story collections, there are some stories in here that are my personal favorites and probably some that I'm like, those are okay. So I'm going to talk about my favorites though. And I have to say, my favorite story in this book is the first one, Dishonored in Death by the one and own Mason in the Dark. So Mason's story is less than 20 pages, but from the first page, it really pulls you into this like urban kind of fantasy world where there's like slums that are full of, like trolls, dwarves, orcs, those type of creatures. And I love that our main character is a female who has lost her brother to a gang rivalry, basically. And Mason only refers to her character as the woman. So the woman is kind of on this path for revenge, for vengeance, because her brother has been killed. But not only that, but his remains are being kept from her. So she can't like lay him to rest and allow him to, go to the gates of Valhalla, that type of stuff. And so she has to kind of like fight her way, like berserker style, through this like, through all these gang members, and she gets to the main gang boss, and there's like a major throwdown. I mean, again, all of this happens within 20 pages, and it was my favorite story because it pulls you in super quick, you get connected to the character super quick, you understand the story super quick, and it's got a really satisfying ending. I will link Mason's channel down below, but please go and check out his channel. He has other works of his that he does in YouTube videos, the Bleeding Ground series, and he has mentioned recently thinking about expanding more of this world. So Mason, if you're listening, I definitely think you should, because I know I, for one, would totally read that. My second favorite story in this collection is probably going to be Home of the Gnome by Mr. Jeremy Fee. I just think it's such a cute and quirky story, and I like that type of stuff, so that really spoke to me. Just like it sounds, his story is about a bunch of gnomes, and at first I kind of thought of like, lawn gnomes, garden gnomes, but the more I thought about it, any of my other 90s babies out there, I don't know if anyone remembers the show David the Gnome, but that's kind of what the story reminded me of. So again, there's kind of that nostalgia link there as well, so that probably also made me like it a little bit more. And then the third one I wanted to mention here was More or Less Human by Margaret Pennard. Now, I know that Margaret Pennard is an author. I've heard her stuff talked about before. I've never read anything by her though, so this was the first one that I read, and I was really surprised at how good it was. Maybe I shouldn't say surprised, pleasantly delighted. But it's basically about this girl who gets pulled into the water and discovers there's this whole like underwater magical kingdom that she's like allegedly a part of somehow, but she didn't know she was a part of. And it's one of those like self-discovery, discovering who you are type of stories. And I just thought it was really cool. Like, I thought it was really cool. Again, the story did give me a bit of a nostalgia feel because I remember being a kid and watching The Little Mermaid and like secretly wishing that there was an underwater mermaid kingdom that I could someday discover or something like that. You know what I mean? And I feel like the story kind of plays on that a little bit, which I really enjoyed. There are tons of other great stories in here and a lot of information about the authors too, which I think is super important. If there's one criticism I would say about the book, it's that it's not long enough, it's too short, I want more stories, and hopefully if there is a volume 2, it'll be a little bit thicker. So that is it for me today. So now I want to know from you, have you read Half Human Heroes? Have you read any other fantasy anthology books? Let me know in the comments section below. Swiper says she wants to know too. And also Roscoe just showed up. Thank you, Roscoe. Thank you. What was I saying? Oh yes, in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff and more furry friends coming your way soon. All right, everyone, happy reading.